Hi, I'm Matt Little. I'm the Director of Counselling and Education at Empowering Awareness.Asia, and I'm a proud sponsor of this podcast.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to interview for my channels.
Yeah, I was really happy when you contacted me. So I'm curious about your questions and let's just begin. Yeah.
I have gone through your profile. I can see you're doing great work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, of course. I'm Johannes. I'm from Germany, got a background in computer science and started several companies, and the current one is CodeShield. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the company, and it's a cloud security software as a service. That's what we are doing. Before I did some non-tech stuff, but I'm really into deep tech. That's why I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing at the moment.
So what made you to start CodeShield?
What made me start? It was a longer journey, to be honest. Like in building businesses since 2014, so almost 10 years now. Started with apps at the beginning, with beer pong tables in between. You may know the game, like it's a drinking game.
Yeah.
And then I built a software security company for open source components. And since 2021, I'm into the cloud security stuff and identity access management. And yeah, how did I came towards that? Because of my previous company, I met some tech guys at ITSA, an IT security fair in Nuremberg in Germany. And that's how I got to know them. And at this time, they wanted to also secure open source components, but we quickly realized that it's not a good use case, or people are not interested in deeper analysis of open source components. And because we were developing a software as a service before in the AWS cloud, we realized that there is a big problem with identity and access management at the public cloud service providers on our own. And that's how I came, or got to know the problems. And then we were thinking, okay, how can we fix it? We did not find a solution for that. And then we were thinking, okay, let's do it on our own. That's how it started, so to say.
So coming from non-technical background and going deeper into the technology, how does that feel? And especially working for Coldfield.
Sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Coming from a non-technical background and deep diving into technology and being a CEO or business owner for the company and trying to solve this problem through cold shield. How does that feel and what is that driving force that is making you do this every day?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. What is the driving force? Sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Sometimes I feel too busy at all because there's a lot of stuff to do and the plans are big. But overall, I really like what I do, like helping other businesses to secure the infrastructure. And that's, I think, the best thing you can work on. That's the best and incredible thing you get as value for you personally, or at least for me, for myself, that other people really like your product and say, hey, I'm using this product and now I increased my productivity, or I now gain more security in my infrastructure. And that's so fulfilling. And that's what drives me, to be honest. So the feedback and the value I provide to other people. I remember a very interesting conversation with a customer with my previous company, and he told me, before I used your product, I needed 60 hours. Now I need 6 hours per month. I won't forget that for my whole life. That's why I do it. It's similar with like with CodeShield. Like if customers love what we do, that drives me. That makes me happy and the team. And that's why we do it every day. Like help others. Because if there's no value for others, of course, you cannot, no one will use it. No one will buy it. And there's no use. If there's no use case and no benefit for others, they won't use the product. And then it's just has no value. But we are luckily not at this point at the moment. So that's why I'm still motivated since years, and I will be motivated for the next years, I guess. And of course, sometimes it's like, to be very honest with you, sometimes in the morning I also think like, that will be a tough day today, because I have a lot of appointments, calls. I have to meet a deadline for something, or my own deadlines, for example, for some deliverables. But that's how it is. I'm at the end of the day, most of the day is pretty happy what I'm doing. And that's incredible for me that I'm in this position and can do it. I'm very thankful for that, to be honest. Yeah.
So with your previous jobs and previous roles and previous experience, you have created CodeShield.
Mm-hmm.
So how CodeShield is solving problems and what solutions that you're giving through this?
Yeah. So the problem, as I said, what we realized was when we were developing our own applications in the AWS cloud, but it's true for the Azure and also the Google Cloud, so for the public cloud service provider. And we realized that it's very complicated to build the infrastructure of a cloud native application in a secure way, because there are permissions between different resources in the cloud infrastructure, from an API entry point to a function, to a user, a group of user, some roles, an EC2 instance like computes. And everything has also permissions to databases, could be S3 or DynamoDB or whatever it might be, where you can store some files in or data in. And this set of resources or what we see usually has more than like 5,000 resources in one cloud account. And it's so complicated to make it secure. So people make some mistakes, not by purpose, but because there's an error or they don't know it better. And then it makes their infrastructure and their application very vulnerable and very easily vulnerable, so that they get hacked by ransomware or by other attacks. And that's what we protect them against. So we check all the permissions, the identity and access management in their cloud infrastructure. So we analyze it via the API. We build a graph model out of that, and then we run our analysis on top of that. So the graph model is the input for our analysis. And then we compute with a simulation in 10 minutes or maximum 10 minutes, the most likely to happen attacks because of identity and access management. And that's what we then prioritize. We prioritize it via the MITRE attack tactics. So that's a security framework. And we then say, okay, there are 5 attack scenarios so how someone can get administrator permissions. There are other 10 which lead to encrypt or decrypt some keys or get access to some data in a database. So, and we prioritize that for them, and we show them how they also can fix it. That's like from problem till the results. Maybe that was a bit too long or not precise, so please ask back if I did not answer your question properly.
No, that actually explains exactly what the what the thing was. So, is there any particular issue that made you to concentrate on this particular service of AWS IAM? Because there are so many services. Like there must be a strong reason for you to work on this and create CodeShield.
Yeah, 100%. When we were starting, we did not know about all this issue, but it came over time that we learned more and more about the issues. And there was one very popular attack already in 2014. The company's name was CodeSpaces, and CodeSpaces has been a competitor of GitHub. I guess you know GitHub. Obviously. Yeah. And they have been a competitor of them, but they went bankrupt because of a successful hack of their identity access management. So an attacker gained access to one resource in their cloud infrastructure, and from them escalated or get more permissions until they have been administrator. And those attacks made us curious. So like, how can we protect people from those attacks? And that's just one very popular case, which ended in the worst case scenario. So because they lost all their code, all their data, and they could not provide their services anymore to their customers. That's just one attack, successful attack we realized when we were investigating it, but there were much more. I don't want to get into more attacks or details, but that was like for us a very important point. We were thinking, okay, well, it's very easy for the attackers and it's very hard to protect against it. So people would need a software to solve that problem for them. But there were then later on some minor things we got to know when we were scanning the actual infrastructure of companies, because then we now see always very similar issues in their infrastructure. Even it's one company, like a transportation company, then it's a media company, then it's a bank, but they always have very similar issues in their permission management. For example, a very popular one, what we see very often is their third-party providers, which help them to build the infrastructure or deploy a template in their cloud infrastructure. They usually get from them a very restrictive role. But what we could show in most of the cases, or in a lot of cases, that they are not only having this restrictive permissions at the end, but every developer of them, for example, can gain administrator permissions. That's very easy attack for them. Of course, you would usually think, okay, every developer from an external firm I can trust, but the past has been shown you should not give too much permissions to external developers and also internal developers. So that's very important. People have to monitor that. But that's just one example what we see a lot in infrastructures.
So, like you said, it's not easy for the business owner or the administrator to manage and to manage these many resources, like 5,000 or more than that.
Mhm.
So you are helping them. So how actually CodeShield works?
Yeah. So it's not, as what you described, it's not like the business owner or an administrator, so to say. The roles of the people are more like it's a cloud engineer, a big engineering team, or cloud security people who work with the product and who are responsible for the AWS, Azure, or Google infrastructure. So it's not like the business owner. Of course, business somehow evolved in using at the end the application, but that's not the role we are in touch with, or that's not the user of our product. So to your question, how it actually works, we connect via the API, and we then generate the findings as I described before with the graph model, the analysis, and then in 10 minutes you get the results with a dashboard and a list of findings, and there's also an inventory, and then you can get an overview pretty quickly if you are vulnerable or if you are secure or if you build a secure infrastructure. And what we see in average in the first scan with our customers is 54.1 attack scenarios. That's the average. That's why it's such a strange number. And 20 out of those lead to administrator permission. That's so to say, the benchmark we know as of today. And we rarely see infrastructures which are set up in a very secure way. So there we usually definitely find at least some issues. Then the question is, okay, how critical are those findings? And people then need to dive deeper into it. And that's like how it works. And it's pretty quick. You can just go to the website, you can sign up, you can give us the rights to your infrastructure and then directly scan your applications. That's pretty simple. Can be done in 10 minutes. That's the good thing. And the most important stuff is like for the people that we don't get write permissions. So the template we are using to get access to the infrastructure of our customers is sticking to least privilege. So we really get minimal permissions in their accounts, so that we can just see a Lambda function but not code of the Lambda function. That we can see that there is a database, but we cannot look into the database. That's very important. But it has been approved by banks, by large media companies, large transportation companies, manufacturing companies. So that's very important because we don't want to be a product which is a security risk to our customers. That's very important to us.
So this product can be used for any business. I mean, any business which belongs to any industry.
Yeah, exactly. The important part is, or the requirement is that the company is using the public cloud, especially like AWS, Amazon Web Services. That's the requirement. We do it for AWS as of today. Later on, also Azure and Google Cloud, but that's the requirement. And it's not industry specific. So it's not just for banks. It's not just for manufacturing. It's every company which is developing a cloud application at AWS or on AWS, then it's definitely relevant for them. And we also work with managed security service providers, for example, and then they use it in their cloud security assessment. So they use our software on their customers. And then they have customers from the energy sector, for example, or from other industries. And they get access to their client's infrastructure, and they use CodeShield to detect the issues I mentioned before. So it's like another business model for us. It's not like an end customer, but they are a partner of us, and they run cloud security assessments and use our software for that. And as well on different industries.
So what do you say before using CodeShield and after using CodeShield? What is the difference?
Yeah, before you don't have a clue what is really going on in your infrastructure. So the developers, they know that identity access management is very complicated and error prone, and that's why they know that they are somehow vulnerable, but they don't know exactly what the issues are. They might have some ideas what it could be, but they don't know it because you can take a look in the AWS infrastructure, in the AWS console, and they don't provide any service to check that. And that's why they are so happy or so easy to convince to run a scan with us, because then they get first the model of their cloud infrastructure where they can understand, okay, how is everything connected with the effective permissions, not just the permissions you just defined in some infrastructure as code or in some other places in the infrastructure. And then they know immediately what are the most important things we need to focus on if we want to make identity access management more secure. And that's like that a no-brainer for them, because it's so quickly that they see, okay, where are our most important resources and on which policies do we need to focus, on which databases do we need to focus to make it more secure. And that's then like the result after they run a scan. They know what are the problems, and of course then they need to remediate it. And after that, the infrastructure is more secure than before. That's the result. And another point on top of that is that their processes speed up if they build infrastructure, because they have a much better understanding of the resources and how the resources are connected to each other. What are the permissions? So what they usually do is like they have to run multiple cycles until they can define the permissions and it's actually working and has these privilege rights. And with us, they are much quicker in doing that. That's another point on top, besides security, that the security increases.
So AWS is most widely used cloud on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And you decided to create CodeShield and help businesses. So have you done research before starting this?
Of course, we had to do that. So we were thinking like, where do we go? Do we go to another cloud service provider first, or with which one should we start? And yeah, we did some analysis on that. So we checked out the different industries and in which industries is AWS used, or is Azure used more, or the Google Cloud. And then we came to the conclusion that we should definitely start with AWS. And it has been the correct decision as of today, 100%. And because AWS has been quicker at the beginning, some years ago when we started. And that's, I think, very important for us and good for our customers, because those are the most innovative companies, I would say. And that's why it's good for us that we decided also for AWS. And from a developer perspective, it's also good that they use AWS. So I'm pretty confident that it has been the right decision. And the question the next question for us is like, what will be the next cloud service provider we should support? And I guess it will be Azure, but there's no guarantee. Might be Google. We'll see. But we did not make the decision yet.
So what is the price of it?
Yeah.
How much you charge?
Yeah. The price depends on the number of AWS accounts, the number of scans at the end you want to run on your infrastructure. It starts with 750. That's what we say on the website. But if you just want to buy single scans for the infrastructure, it starts with less than $20 per scan. So it's affordable for every company, but we say that it's really relevant for companies above 120 employees. But of course, we have companies which are much smaller, like 30 employees or 10 even, which run scans. And it's also helpful for them because the infrastructure is already also so big that they cannot oversee it themselves. And they don't know about the IAM security. So that's how it is. And for smaller companies with a low price for one scan, they also can just try it out. That's not a showstopper for them.
And business can't be constant. It grows by time. So how you did that thing that makes and helps even if the resources are increasing in AWS account.
Yeah. That's not always the case for every AWS account we see. Of course, if you develop longer on a product, usually the number of resources in AWS account increases. But we also saw at some accounts that they get more efficient and then they decrease the infrastructure size of their one AWS account. And like both ways or both directions are fine for us. Like if the account is increasing, not a problem for us. We have done this analysis on very large accounts from very huge companies, like with, for example, almost 20,000 resources in an account. This is extremely huge. Usually like the average, as I said, like is 5,500 something. But even like 4 times the size is possible for us and still does not take too long. But of course, it's not those accounts. They are not fulfilling AWS best practices, I would say, but still we can scan them. So that's not a problem for us or for our customers.
So the developers and also, it is helping businesses. So what is the feedback that you listen always when CodeShield is used by
Yeah.
developers or engineers?
Yeah, one sentence directly comes to my mind. What someone said during using the product when we have been a call. I did not think about that like that before, but he just said, "Guys, we could never have found that manually. No way." It was so mind blowing for me. I mean, at the end, it's obvious, but we've never thought that in this way. That was like for us also a good moment to realize that how big the value is for them, because manually you cannot figure it out. And the problem is that attackers, they have automation tools nowadays, and they enumerate some resources in the cloud infrastructure. And that's a big problem for the security teams or for engineering teams, because if they can do that, they'll definitely find these resources with which they can then run an attack against the infrastructure. That's the big problem.
And it can be used anywhere, in any country, no matter which availability zone it is.
No, it's like we hosted in several zones, like of course EU Central 1, South America, like wherever you want to run it. And of course we had the request to run it in specific regions because of latency or data protection laws. But that's not a problem for us. If someone says, okay, we want to run it especially in this region, yeah, we can do that. Or we also had the request that they want to run it in their own AWS infrastructure. That's also possible. It's not our favorite way because we would like to maintain our software as a service solution for sure, but not maintaining our infrastructure inside a customer's cloud accounts. Of course, we can do that if that's a requirement, and it has been done, or people are also doing it like that. But we prefer that they're using our software as a service because, from a maintenance perspective, it's easier for the customer and for us.
When you usually attend to conferences and when you talk about CodeShield, what questions that usually people have that that is common that they want to
Yeah.
know about CodeShield and the
Mhm.
solutions that you're giving?
Yeah. Of course, after they saw the results and they know what we or can show to them, they usually ask about how can I regularly scan on my infrastructure? So can I do it every Monday at 10 a.m. or can I trigger it when my CI/CD is started, or we have pull requests, such things like integration questions, and of course, like we have an API or webhooks. So it can be triggered by other tools, or you can schedule scans. And the other questions are then integrations with project management tools like that. You can then give the results to the right people that they can work on that. And of course, same for that, like for Jira, for example, or other project management tools, if you can just integrate it. What else are they asking in your integration? Sometimes they want to have like minor stuff, like how they can comment on specific findings, if it will stay over time between the scans, such things. But that's, yeah, everything is possible. If they can ignore some findings and then they want to ignore findings for a specific resource over more accounts, such like very technical questions or feature requests, but that's already all, everything is implemented. So you can, for example, then say, okay, I want to ignore from a specific resource all the findings over all AWS accounts. What else do they ask? About SCP, service control policies, or permission boundaries. If we analyze those as well, and that's also included. So like technical stuff, they want to know technical stuff about the capabilities of the tool at the end.
So how this setup can be done?
The setup is very simple. That's the good part. You just go to the website, sign up, and then you can connect your account to our software. How is it done? You specify your account ID from your account from AWS, and then you deploy a role for us. You deploy a template into your AWS account, which we can then assume. That's how it's done. And by that, we can read out the information as I described before. And that takes just 3 minutes. It's extremely quick. That's the good part. There's no big installation process. You don't have to do it with the 5 people and you have to set some things up. It's like very, very quick. And that's very comfortable for us and for other people. That's good.
Oh, you are a tech guy, you are a technologist, and also you are a business owner. So when you are talking with a business owner who doesn't have a technical knowledge or engineering,
Mhm.
side, so how do you talk to them and how do you tell them about
Yeah.
CodeShield?
Yeah, usually you're right. Like I'm a technical background. I'm not developing myself anymore, but I got enough expertise to talk to the technical people. That's what we usually do. Like we're not talking to the business owner, so to say. We are always talking to the tech people because they know what their problems are and they know if we can help them to fix it. That's why I'm not talking to business people, to be honest. We are talking to tech people, like the head of engineering or the team lead of a cloud security team. Or the director of engineering, those people, and also like team leads of those teams or the user at the end, those people who understand that they have a problem and they want to fix their problem. To those people we are talking, and by that we are showing them the value, do a proof of concept in just 90 minutes, 3 accounts for free. We just offer it for free to them because we know they need to do it not just once, but they do it every day, every week, every month. That's up to them. And that's why we give it to them for free at the beginning to show the value, and then they can make a technical decision that they want to use it. And after that, we sometimes talk to then the business owners, like the budget holder, but usually the budget is inside the teams, and that's how it's done. Yeah. I've never talked to a CEO of a company, which is what I consider as a business owner, so to say. We are talking then to the chief information officer, for example, or a chief information security officer. To those roles we are talking, but we're not talking to the CEO of a company. That's not necessary.
And how different it is for CodeShield working or scanning for a limiter number of resources on AWS account and the resources that are differ from the before one, like how different it is
You
scanning and
mean,
the time that it takes to give the result.
yeah, okay. Like if you're talking about smaller companies or smaller accounts, with like 500 resources, 1,000 resources, for them it's not so highly relevant, I would say. It starts like with companies above that. But the scanning time, of course, is the fastest if the account is smaller. But if you're talking about 10,000 resources, you get the results below 15 minutes. I would even say below 10 minutes. Of course, it depends on the actual permission setup you have done, because that influences the computational needed power of our simulation. But usually it's pretty good, pretty quick. So people don't have to wait too long. It's not like you have to run the software overnight and then you look into the results the next morning. It can be done just like we even do it in one call. Like we jump on a call with the tech team, we connect the accounts, trigger the scans, then we are talking about something, and then we are taking a look at the results when we're doing the proof of concept with them. Of course, in the day-to-day, we are not taking a look at all their results with them. They can do it on their own. It's just when we do the proof of concept with them, then we do it like that.
Does the developer ask the deeper level questions like how does this is created and how it is actually giving the effective result?
Yeah, they are very interested in it. So they are asking about the analysis or how the model is built. Of course, like I'm not the right person to explain it to them anymore because I'm not too technically anymore. That's my colleagues are doing it, or they're explaining to them if they are really interested in the technology. Happy to explain it to them so that they got a better understanding what they can wait for, or what they can really get, what they really can get out of it. But I like that. Like I'm always curious, also sometimes to learn some more details about the analysis, because I did not develop it myself. So sometimes the calls with them tech people are also very interesting for me because I learned something new. I really like that, but I cannot explain all the technical stuff from the analysis because I'm not the coder anymore. But my colleagues can do that pretty good. That's why they're always in the calls as well.
So from the day you started CodeShield and till today, I'm sure you might have done a lot of enhancements and changes to better the service and to give the to give the great service to your clients. So how different it is from day one to today? Like
That's a good one. Obviously, it has been a long journey from CodeShield day one until CodeShield today. And I remember when we had the first MVP in 2022, the first scan, it had nothing to do with what it's capable of today, for sure not. But still, we had some results. But at this point in time, we were just at 5% from what where we are today, I guess. But we were so happy after we could run the first scan. We saw the first results on an infrastructure. But people at this point in time, they did not want to buy it, for sure not. And I totally understand that. But since then, more than 2 years, we spent so many resources on that. to develop the product further until people really, really loved it. And of course, we incorporated a lot of feedback. We had so many feedback loops with people. We eliminated false positives. We made the UX better. We improved the UI. Of course, a lot of bug fixing sprints. So now that's like the result of, I don't know how many hours of work, years of work, where we are today, that you can go to the website, sign up, and 10 minutes later you have the results. I mean, I would never, maybe not even imagine that when we started at the beginning, that it could be so quick. But we made it, and we are still, like, from today's point of view, we are still not at the end, by far not at the end. There we can do now so many improvements. We have like a huge roadmap for the future. That's how it is. Yeah.
So, if I ask you this question, for which industry or for which business this will be more effective, like more useful, for banking or for retail or for telecom, or what industry will get most benefit from this?
That's hard to say. We chose financial services or banks because their security awareness and their regulation is the highest. And that's why for them, it's really, really relevant from a compliance perspective and from an engineering perspective. That's why I think this is still a very, very important industry, or it's very valuable to them. But it's as valuable for other industry, even if they're not so regulated as banks are. Because from an engineering perspective, it's as important as for a bank if you are a retailer or a media company or a transportation company. So there is no difference really between those, or the value between those industries. The question is more like, what is your security awareness inside the industry? And then that may increase the likelihood that they want to work with us. That's how I would describe it. Yeah.
So, as a CEO, you are watching AWS, Amazon Web Services,
Yeah.
and you are seeing from time the time that is changing all these years. You are seeing the growth of AWS, and you saw a lot of changes, the constant change that is happening in technology, especially in AWS, like it is top in the industry today. So, how you are able to adopt to AWS and do this and make this work and sell this to your clients?
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the AWS services also have evolved over time pretty quickly. Of course, we are also in touch with them sometimes, so that we also exchange some knowledge with them. People always ask us about like why doesn't AWS produce such a service? They have some minor service, but it's not comparable to what we are doing, and we are not afraid of them that they will launch a product, because we know it has to be a multi-cloud solution at the end between the cloud service providers. But even if it's not, still the service is enough for one cloud service provider. Yeah, in terms of services, they evolved a lot. AWS, like I cannot explain all the services or name all the services they launched over the years, but they made huge progress. But still, the IAM, or Identity Access Management part, is still very complicated, and that's why there is a need for this. And I assume that will stay for the next 10, 15, 20 years until there is a new approach to permission management in the cloud service provider. But I don't see any solution in the next years, to be honest.
With the result or the scan report that you have given, with that result and doing analysis and solving problem, understanding the report, which company got most benefit, and what is that big change or that big solution that happened, and which actually changed the company's the major
Yeah.
thing. Do you
Okay.
remember anything?
Yeah, I can tell about of course I cannot name the company, but it has been
Sure.
a larger enterprise from the transportation industry. And They, for example, discovered one issue with the CDK problem. So CDK is also a language which a lot of engineers are using, cloud development kit. And if you use the standard configuration of CDK, you have a policy attached which is very vulnerable, and people do not know that, and they do not fix it after they use it. And because there are a lot of teams which were using CDK, all their different AWS infrastructures, all their teams have been vulnerable to this CDK issue at the end. And that was very important to them, because it's not just one team, one single account, but a lot of accounts. That's then a bigger risk for them. But we have seen the same issue at banks, at other companies as well. So that's one of the top 5 findings we see a lot with CDK. That's a huge problem. What else did they? CDK stuff. Do I remember another one? Yeah, the third-party service provider issue, they also had that. So restrictive role to an external service provider, but effectively they could gain administrator permission. That was a very popular one. Yeah, there are some minor, but we would need to dive into the scan again. And I would need my colleague, because he's the technical guy. Another one which came to my mind is GitLab CI or CI/CD pipelines usually or very often get a lot of permissions as well, and then it can be used as an accelerator for attacks. So the attacker uses the GitLab CI permissions to gain more privileges in the AWS infrastructure. That's what we also saw at this company. I think that those are the top 3, if I remember correctly. Maybe I missed some others, but that's, I would say, at least top 3 out of a lot of findings. So, yeah.
And how does this dashboard looks like? And also, do you provide documentation before using this?
Of course, we have docs. You can access them online, like the detailed explanation about everything, about analysis, about resources, how you connect, everything. How does it look like? At the beginning, you get a dashboard. Like you see, okay, well, how many attack scenarios do I have? On which policies should I focus? On which entry points should I focus for prioritization reasons? We show that on the dashboard. And of course, that's very important to companies because they run multiple scans. You see your vulnerabilities over time, like how many attacks did I have last week, this week, yesterday. So like it's a histogram over several scans so that you can see, okay, do I get more secure or do I increase more findings? And that's where people then kind of take a look at. And what is very important for them is that they can track the actual findings from scan to scan. So if there has been a finding in the past and it's still in the new scan, you see it. But if you fix it in the next scan, you also see that it has been fixed. So you exactly know, okay, did I introduce a new one or is it an old one? So you see your security posture over time increasing or decreasing.
So how your technical team is working on doing these updates, like, before and after scans, and I'm sure they will be doing a lot similarly.
Yeah, but the team, that's the good thing, like our development team is completely independent from the scans our customers run. So the customers, they run the scans independently. My colleagues are not needed for that. Of course, if we deploy a new version, that's what regularly happens. Then our customers can still use the product, but we release a new version and then they just automatically can use the new version because it's a software as a service. That's the nice part. That's why I said before, we don't want to run it in the cloud infrastructure of our customers, because then we would have to update the versions inside our customers' infrastructure, and the maintenance efforts are higher than what is needed if we just do it on the software on our software as a service in different regions.
So what do you think that most of the developers or or the account holders, AWS account holders, don't notice about IAM?
Oh, what they don't notice about IAM. That's a tough one. I need to think about it. What don't they notice? Sometimes very obvious things. For example, a colleague just went out of the team and still has a role in the account. That's a very obvious issue, but still sometimes it's overseen because the teams, they have a lot of stuff to do, and then they just miss some basic stuff. And then it's also like, a risk factor, so to say. Some resources which are not used anymore, but they are still present in the infrastructure. What do they oversee as well? That's a very easy and obvious one. Another one, maybe it's not overseeing something. Sometimes it's not about blaming the engineers. It's very complicated to set up a secure infrastructure, and they try their best. But sometimes then if they set the permissions very fine-grained, the infrastructure does not work because it's too less permissions. Then they give a bit more permissions, they deploy again, it does not work, they give a bit more permissions. Then at some point, they sometimes then give an asterisk, which means, okay, for this resource, it's access to everything in the infrastructure. Then they deploy, they see it works, and then they say, okay, I'll fix the security stuff later on and minimize the access of this resource, but that sometimes does never happen. And that's what we see a lot in some accounts, because then you see, okay, there's one resource overprivileged. So someone did almost like several rounds or circles until he was thinking, okay, I now give rights to everything. That's what we see a lot. Yeah.
Do you want to add additional or do enhancements to help and help businesses more with whatever you have already?
Yeah. Of course, we have a bigger plan on where we're moving. Like at the moment, we just scan one account, but the next step is to scan multiple accounts because there are also permissions and access between the different AWS infrastructures and accounts. And where we are going is pre-deployment, so we can tell the cloud engineers when they are doing a pull request, we can already tell them, okay, if you then would merge that, you will definitely get this 10 new attack scenarios, or you will give access to 5 new databases. Is that what you really want to do? So to tell them earlier about the issues, they are just introducing to the application.
So how you're observing AWS, the enhancements or the growth of AWS, like because you're working and you're helping customers with CodeShield connecting with AWS.
Yeah, I'm not watching AWS like how they are growing exactly. So I'm not watching. Of course, I know how much revenue they did, or that they are growing compared to Microsoft Azure, for example, or Google. But we are more checking what is changing in the cloud infrastructure services. So are there some adjustments what we need to consider for our analysis, for example, such things like more on the technical side. That's where we monitor AWS, so to say, but not overall the business. Of course, the business story, the business story behind, but we are more checking technical stuff because that's important to our customers and to our product. If we would need to make some adjustments, or if we can just keep it like it is, some service support, for example.
So at last, what do you say about CodeShield to engineers and developers and also to their business owners if they're watching in a simple way?
You mean what is my message to people who should
about CodeShield? Like how
okay.
does CodeShield changes their infrastructure or the problems that they are facing?
So for the businesses we are working with, like what's very important is identity access management is not secure before they're using us. But after they introduced us and they run scans and they remediate the findings, they are much more secure than before. And we make their identity access management secure in the AWS infrastructure. That's what we do for them.
And at last, Can you say about, about, a bit about your, you know, your past to present in a very short way? Yeah.
Past to present. So I started, as I said, 2014 with an idea at university. We wanted to give wine recommendations in supermarkets for friends with an app. That's how I started. I built the beer pong business. I built Coderio, the open source security tool, and now I'm working on CodeShield. And that's my journey. And I can just recommend to everyone, just start. Don't think about it. Just start and do something. That's the best part. Do not think, but do. That's incredible. That's what I can recommend to other people. But as you do as well, like you're not thinking you are doing something. You're doing the podcast and much more. So that's how it works, I guess.
If I interviewed Amazon Web Services vice president
Mm-hmm.
a couple of times. So if he's watching you and if he's listening to you, what do you say to him?
Oh, that he did definitely a very, very good job in the last years. So they have an incredible service like landscape, definitely. Um, but I am still complicated for their users. But that's not something I want to blame him for, or that's why, or it's the, how can I say that in a good way? It's a result which is possible in the infrastructure. It's not only at AWS the case. It's the same for other cloud service providers. And it's tough to do that. Like, if I make a comparison to custom code, a custom code developers are writing, it's also not secure at the end. And it's not because somebody had bad intention, but it's so complicated that you have to use some tools to secure your custom code. And that's the same with identity and access management. So you just need some tooling to be prepared for attackers. That's necessary. Yeah.
Great.
And,
At last,
and what you can tell them, like if he wants to talk with me, of course, I'm always happy to have a chat and get his opinion about the market and what he thinks will happen in the future. I'm very curious to hear that.
can you spell your website to my podcast listeners if they're listening, if they're on the
Sure.
audio?
Yeah. So our website address is codeshield.io, code like coding and shield like the shield to protect.io.
Great. I'll put the link and also the information in the description of this video, also in the on the screen as well, and also in my website as well. People who visit my website or video on YouTube or listens this on podcast on any platform in the internet can able to understand what you said and can able to go through what exactly CodeShield is doing and how it is you know uh, helping businesses.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and that I had the possibility to talk with you. I really appreciate that. It has been fun talking to you.
Great. As a CEO, as a problem solver, as a technologist, and as a deep thinker, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
Of course, the one you mentioned, I took a look at before, obviously. That's what got me curious, to be honest. Like, so after I saw that podcast, I was thinking, okay, this guy is serious about what he's doing. And how did he get this guy into his podcast? That's how it has been. But I did not watch many of the podcasts, to be honest. But the one you just mentioned, I watched before, for sure.
I did masters in software engineering, also bachelors in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm working as a AWS Cloud DevOps Engineer for a London company remotely from India. So that's
Mhm.
my role. So that's my engineering role. That's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you who are already in the industry, who are
Mhm.
from different countries and who are solving different problems with and helping different businesses and from different parts of the world. So being an engineer, me talking to experts like you who are working on amazing products and
Mhm.
helping businesses, how this experience, I have interviewed more than 850 people, a lot of business owners and the vice presidents, sales people, engineering people, architects, and whatnot, everyone. And also I try to interview some of the non-technical people like police officers, authors, psychologists, in order to understand, in order to have the diversity in my technology channel. So as an observer, you have been in the industry from long time, you have done different businesses, you talk all the time in conferences, go meet people. So how this experience talking continuously with diversified people, with completely different country people daily and interviewing them, how this energy is going to contribute to my personal career and also to the users and listeners for, following me.
Yeah, I think that's a very good opportunity, which you and I or everyone has, like because of technology and how it will help you or for your personal journey. I guess that this will be huge because you have the possibility to talk to so many people and get to know them and also their expertise. And that's at the end very important to you and to me, like to learn from every conversation, to take something with you and yeah, then leverage that for your own job or your own day-to-day tasks. I think that's very valuable for you. For you, I would expect that. And it will increase the likelihood for new opportunities for you in the future. So when you're able to talk to 800 people and you learn such a lot from them, and they know people, you got to know new people by them, and that's like the best opportunity you can get. And like I think you cannot even imagine what it will mean for the future. That's very important.
To suggest my CEO about CodeShield.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And that's why I think it's such a good fit, because you're yourself involved in the AWS cloud. Why it makes sense that we were talking. That's because if I would not go to a podcast where I would have another person talking to me when it would not make sense at all. Definitely not.
I use all the services. I use the different services for my business. I mean, the company that I'm working for. So I constantly see what is happening, and I explored CodeShield long time back, but I wanted to
Mhm.
tell about it through you.
Mhm.
You are the creator of it, so I wanted to tell through you, and I'm sure people who listens this and listen this already, have
Mhm.
understood how exactly this works and how this contributes to their business and
Yeah.
increase their productivity.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the flowers that you call me the creator. But I have to say, like my colleague and co-founder Manuel Benz, like he is the brain behind. So I'm really happy that he is in my team in our company, and because he's the one and only creator. I would not the one and only, but he's the mastermind behind, not myself. Of course, I had the idea and we were investigating that together, but he's doing the hard stuff, the hard tech stuff with the team. So thanks to them, thanks to Manuel and the other guys. So I would just want to state that. Yeah.
Congratulations for
Yeah.
for the work that you're doing. And also, can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah. Of course. Of course. I'm happy
And
that you
also,
publish it.
can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Just share it and yeah, talk about it. It's good that everyone learns, I think, about CodeShield, and can benefit from them. That's important, that people improve their infrastructure, their security. And I think that will be the goal of it. And yeah, so do it. Just, you can do whatever you want. I'm happy with that. I took a look before, so can definitely do that, what you did before with others. Thanks. Yeah.
I want your product to reach everywhere on this planet as AWS reach.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Johannes, again for your valuable time and sharing your experiences and answering to some of my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time and that I had the possibility to talk in your podcast. I really appreciate that.
talking to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Take care.